So are you ready to talk about Mortal Kombat?
Dude, I'm ready.
Oh man, I was gonna get a clip for it, but I was putting so much together today that I didn't get the Mortal Kombat shout. So
If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
It is what
Spoiler alert.
This is gonna
spoiler alert.
Yeah,
if you haven't seen it by now, it's on you.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Yep. So. Stop what you're doing. If you care, go watch it. Otherwise, we're gonna pretty much spoil the entire thing.
Fast forward it if you're listening to us or watching us to probably 5 to 10 minutes from now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think this is going to take too long. There's not a lot to really go over for the most part. So, where do you want to start?
Dude, so I'll start off. So my rating for it, I think, if I'm being generous, I think I could genuinely say 7 out of 10. I'm fine with 6 stars. I think we had talked about it over the weekend, and you said 6.
Yeah, it's definitely
6, 7. It's right around in there.
I can't justify a 7. Like
you can't.
No,
I think it's.
So here's why. Kano. Okay. Let's start with the characters. I think that's fair because that's what everyone is excited about. I don't think everyone was excited about the characters on the big screen or big screen, if you will. They were excited about the fatality stuff because before it came out, the promotion was talking about how the movie was going to be really graphic and very much like the video games or whatever. And I was always suspicious of that because I was like, those video games are very graphic. They are very. Yeah. I mean, one of Sonya Blade, is it Sonya or her daughter? One of the two. One of her fatalities is that she kicks the other character up into the air and shoots them into a spinning blade of a helicopter. So you know what I mean?
Remember that.
Yeah. So it's one of those things. There's all sorts of just insane fatalities in that. And so I was kind of suspicious, but I guess kind of hopeful. I got excited the closer to release it came out, but the characters are mostly good. They feel like a lot of them B-tier versions of what's in the game.
Like on the Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah, it's not.
They put it out.
Yeah, so there was a lot when it came out, everyone gave that movie really a lot of praise because they did a really good job casting the adult versions of the kids. So they 1-to-1, you're like, I believe that the kid version would grow up to be this person, right? And it's not exactly the same, but when you're looking for actors and actresses to play in this movie, you would think that that would be the place that they would spend a majority of their time is making sure it's as close as possible. And it works, and I know you're not going to get 100%, but I don't know. Other than some of the characters that you don't see their faces, or obviously Goro is easy to do because he's just a big CG dude. I think Shang Tsung looked terrible.
Yeah, didn't he?
I was kind of because I don't know. I guess I was looking for something.
Menacing.
No, he looked kind of goofy. It looked like his costume didn't fit quite right.
Yep.
There was a lot of weird details like that just kind of seemed off. But I thought Cabal was pretty good. I thought they did a pretty good job with his design. Speedy guy with the hook swords.
Cabal was good. Kano was good. I thought Kano was cast really well in my opinion.
I thought he was really annoying.
Don't get me wrong. I think that's less to do with
his look, though, is what you're saying.
The actor's portrayal of the character and the character himself, and more to do with the writing and putting too much of him in there.
Yeah, I would agree.
You know what I mean?
It's writing and direction because it's just it was oh, he's supposed to be the comedic relief of the movie or whatever, and then it was oh, is that all he is? He just has these annoying quips throughout the movie.
Qualities.
And you're just it must have been 30 minutes in, and I was like, he's wearing me out.
Dude, when he spit on that garden gnome and they showed it, I was like, this is disgusting. This is going to come back. They're not showing this for no reason.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is a way to be subtle there.
It did.
Yeah. It seems so useless and pointless. Why does that have to be a scene?
So,
you know what I mean?
I thought
But
Jax aesthetically was okay. I thought they picked
yeah,
a pretty good
aesthetically, I thought
actor.
Jax was too.
I thought they picked a pretty good actor. I think he was actually one of the more interesting characters in the movie. And I think this is actually an issue with the movie as a whole, is that the most interesting characters get the least amount of screen time, right?
Mhm.
So
Who are the most interesting characters to you?
I would say that Sub-Zero and Scorpion had, I mean,
Mhm.
their whole dynamic, it's literally how the movie opens, and then they forget about it until the last 30 minutes of the movie, if that,
Yep.
right?
Well,
Jax,
Sub-Zero's pieced in there some, right? But
yeah, kind of. He basically is like
it's
a
weird.
horror villain, which is like fine, I guess. It was fine, but it didn't really do anything for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's because like I thought the story was going to center around Scorpion's revenge, because that's what they set
Yeah.
up to be the plot, and that's what it is in the games. There's an animated movie that came out a couple of years ago where that's sort of the plot of the animated movie, and so maybe that's just because I had that in my head, and I was like, oh, they are going to center this mostly around Scorpion, and so those characters, I'm trying to. That might be it, man.
Yeah.
Was there anybody else that stood out to you? I can't think of any. I mean, I might just be forgetting.
No, Liu Kang's character was kind of eh.
Yeah, he
Kung
was
Lao
whatever.
was fine. He was fine.
Yeah, Kung
I
Lao.
thought he was fine.
Kung Lao was fine until they just unceremoniously kill him off, and then they go, whatever. It's like
Yeah.
it's like Liu Kang's best friend, and he's like, no, and then they're immediately over it, and they're like, we need to get back to business, and I'm like,
I was hoping they would actually focus more on him
yeah,
rather than Liu Kang. You know, so much with Liu Kang.
yeah,
That's all seemed kind of weird. It seemed kind of weird, like how they even found the temple in the first place. Like,
yeah.
I
He's
know,
like,
this
yeah, just everything was very convenient.
right.
There's lots
And
of
then, but
conveniences that get them to where they're going.
my main problem is that the main character felt unneeded.
Oh, totally.
You know,
He was okay. So can I tell you what
and
'cause
whiny too.
I thought about this afterwards. Now, I don't know if the actress would have been strong enough in her abilities to make this work, but I think they should have made Sonya Blade the main character, and everything. She should have been. I was gonna say she should have been the sympathetic person that is essentially this is what happens a lot in movies. So the everyman character, or the character that the audience is supposed to see all the events through, Sonya could have worked perfectly for that, because she was the only character for most of the movie that didn't have the like emblem or whatever. And we're talking about like what we're working with, right? Not like a complete like what I would do, but within the confines of what they had to work with. She was the only one that didn't have the emblem, so there's actually sort of like this progression of like you want to see her overcome her obstacles, right? It also fits into Hollywood's sort of like intersectionality, where it's like a female lead. She's strong, all of that sort of stuff, and she's basically a normal person. Like for most of the movie, she doesn't have any sort of superpowers or whatever. She was in the military, so that's kind of got a sympathetic angle to it. There's just all these things that. Oh, the whole situation with Jax also makes her a sympathetic character and something that you can relate to through her eyes. Yeah, but they put Cole in, right? That's his name, as this sort of like everyman character, but he's so bland and so boring, and they don't really do much
There's
with
no
him.
depth to him.
Yeah, he's just kind of there.
He's just there.
They have the whole family
I
angle.
thought a better.
It's like,
I thought a better route to go would have been to what you just said, focusing on Scorpion's revenge.
Yeah.
But then have Cole, like, you think if you want to have Cole as the main character, I'm fine with that, right? But instead of introducing a new character, he ends up being Chameleon, and he's on the bad side or whatnot.
Yeah.
He
switches.
I thought that, like a twist to it and everything. That could have made it more interesting, right? Just working within their parameters.
I wish they had just gotten rid of
or
him, though.
whatever.
I just don't think.
Yeah. I just thought that could have been a better use, like using him that way versus, introducing an entirely new character. That, again, even if they want to introduce an entirely new character, they just did a bad job at doing it.
Exactly.
He just is out of place, bland. I don't even have any problem with them introducing a new character. It's just bad.
They went off this whole idea of, of Scorpion is popular, so let's play off Scorpion being popular and make the main character an ancestor of Scorpion. And it's like, why didn't you just make Scorpion the main character, or at least like a major part in the movie? Right? It was
what it
weird.
reminds me of? There's that dude that's popular. I guess I don't know if it's on Instagram or on TikTok. And what he does is he'll take videos of people doing something complicated, and when there's a simple way. So, for example, this lady was using some kind of device to cut a lime into 4, and she was going like hitting it over and over again. It took her like 8 tries, 9, 10 tries to finally get it to slice all the way through.
Yeah.
And he just and he doesn't speak. He just took the lime and he cut it into 4 quarters, like what she was trying to want in 5 seconds. And he goes,
Yeah.
and he's like, so basically it's like the simple way is oftentimes the most effective and efficient thing to do. Not that there can't be complexity to it. And I think that's what you're saying here. Go with Scorpion, the simple way, rather than trying to, make a difficult path for yourself.
And if I was to take a guess, I think that they were just doing everything in their power not to have Johnny Cage be the main character in this movie. Do you know why? if I'm going to be cynical about it,
go ahead.
It's because he's a white male.
Yeah,
I mean that's basically
the same thing. Because the second movie is obviously going to center somewhat.
He'll be in it
on Johnny Cage.
I'll make a guess. If they make a second movie, which is not, I don't know if you've seen anything about it. I didn't check beforehand, but if they make a second movie, he'll be in it, but he'll take Kano's place. He'll be the comedic relief and be just as annoying as Kano, because all he does is make quips, and then for some reason Sonya will fall in love with him because that's just what's supposed to happen.
Right.
Because that's the story of that. And it was really just and you can kind of tell that because who killed Goro in this movie?
Cole.
Who kills Goro in the original one?
Oh, I forget. Is it Johnny Cage?
It's Johnny Cage. It's
Cage,
classic
right?
because he hits him in the balls. I can't remember if he does his famous split uppercut. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, and it's synonymous with Mortal Kombat at this point. Is that's Johnny Cage's thing or whatever, and they just completely disregard that and bring in a character that has nothing to do with the series. And again, man, this is pretty common for video game movies. They have a bad history of getting into a writer's room, I guess, and people just replacing stuff, or almost thinking that they know better and they can do it better. And then it gets out there and everyone's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, right.
So
stick to the source material you have and grow from there. Not that you can't add your new stuff to it. I think that's why, again, a great example of this is the Lord of the Ring movies. If you haven't seen, or if you haven't read the books, Peter Jackson does a great job of sticking to the source material, but he makes it his own in certain respects. For example, the Eye of Sauron in the movie isn't actually that physical eye that you see there. It's just the Planeteer, and Sauron has access to most of them, and that's how he's able to see everything and corrupt people and stuff like that. Right. And so, whereas there's always this metaphorical, allegorical eye in the books, whereas in the movies, Peter Jackson makes it a physical thing. Yeah. That so
yeah, you have to make decisions like that sometimes for a visual medium.
Right.
Things can't.
But he
always...
made it his own. He didn't
exactly.
Where they went wrong is adding the new character in The Hobbit. Right. One of the areas they went wrong is adding Tariel.
Wait, was that Evangeline Lilly's character, the love interest of one of the Hobbits?
Was. Yes.
That's Evangeline Lilly from Lost.
Okay.
I thought it was really dumb that they avoided doing the whole tournament thing, sticking with sort of this trend of they wanted to try to make it their own thing, and it turned out, in my opinion, to be worse than if they had just followed Mortal Kombat 9. They had the blueprint, right? Mortal Kombat 9's not that old. It was a pretty well done story, and then you could have interspersed fights and characters into that. Instead, they were like, well, What if the plot was that NetherRealm just wanted to take out all of the fighters before the tournament even started? And so Goro ends up fighting Cole on a farm. And you're like, what? And then my other big complaint, and then the floor is yours, is that they do this thing through the entire movie where they constantly remind you of the like most popular things from the game. There was one that made me laugh, and it was the one where they're training, and I think it's Kung Lao keeps tripping.
Yes.
Not Kung Lao. It was
Liu Kang.
Liu Kang.
He kept tripping Kano.
He kept tripping Kano with the sweep, and that's a pretty common thing that used to happen. It still happens in when you're playing against other people because it's super cheap and it does a lot of damage, and so people will just leg sweep because nobody thinks to either low block or jump over it and jump backwards, whatever. And I chuckled at that, and then after that I was like, oh, they're gonna keep doing this, right? So the finish him or get over here or fatality. I'm like, why would anyone just say fatality after they did that? Yeah, that stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and then they go to like that bridge, like the famous bridge that's one of the fights from, or one of the stages from Mortal Kombat, and they don't even knock anybody into the spikes that are below it. And I was like, wasted opportunity. Anyway, the floor is yours, please.
Nah, I think that's good. You pretty much covered it. My complaints. My main one was just the acting choices, the casting, the dialogue, the writing.
Yeah, it was,
and then the main character.
Mm-hmm. I liked most of the fights. Just to put some of the.
And the CGI wasn't. I didn't think the CGI was that bad.
I hate that these movies constantly make Reptile just into a lizard and he never has his like ninja uniform on or whatever. Like, what a great opportunity to like make him a ninja and then rip his mask off and he's a big lizard, right? To add sort of that like, oh, this is serious sort of thing to it. Instead, he's just a big lizard that they fight at one point. And the movie feels too like overproduced. I think that's kind of the complaint. But I also I didn't hate it because I knew it was going to be schlocky, which is why I think a 6. Like, if you make me put numbers on things, you like that, and so I would have said 6 out of 10. If I think about it too much, I might drop it down even more. But I liked the moments with Sub-Zero and Scorpion. I thought most of that worked pretty well, and their fights were pretty good. You can tell that the stunt doubles were a little more gracious in certain scenes because some of the fights look slow and way too paced out, which is a really big problem in like B movies. And so for it to be in something like this, I'm like, it's just not very good. Fatalities were good.
Same.
The gore was good. I mean, you kind of get some of the things that at least for me, what I was looking for to come out of this was like decent fights, and then for it to be somewhere in the level of the violence of the games, and they kind of get there, but in some places it doesn't work. So it is.
My whole thing is this: if you can't have, what would you say, just off the top of your head, is a great movie that has a bunch of CGI in it? What like you would say is like A tier for CGI? Would you say Avengers? Would you say what?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe like In-Game and Infinity War. They've got pretty. It works because you're not having to think about it too much. That's generally what you want. Is you don't want your CGI even if there's a lot of it in it. I would say Alita Battle Angel did an okay job with that. You never really that movie, you never really care that a lot of it's CG. It just kind of works.
So my whole thing is this: if you can't have it at that level, you should probably more gear towards the original Lord of the Rings.
Practical.
To use an example, the first scene in that movie in Mortal Kombat was so great, and there's not a ton of CGI in that, is there?
No. There's probably a little bit to fill in. And that's fine, because even some of like the most prolific directors in Hollywood, they do CG for certain things.
Right.
Sometimes it's to fill in backdrops. So they'll
Mhm.
completely change the backdrop of a city in order to fit the aesthetic because there's just no way to do it practically.
Mhm.
But yeah, I love practical effects. I think some of
Yeah.
that it's a semi-dying art form, and I hate that everything goes so hard into CG. It's why like even stuff like Godzilla versus Kong, it gets
Mhm.
old after a while because you're just like, this might as well have been a cartoon, right?
Right.
It's why it bothered me when everyone kept calling the new Lion King that came out a live action movie. I'm like, it's not. It's literally just CG. It's just
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
just an
more
animated movie.
realistic. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, guys. Like,
It reminds me of that meme with SpongeBob where it's Patrick and that evil villain, and it's you go through the different meme pictures of the guy being like, oh, okay, so it has CGI in it, it has this, so it's an anime movie. No, it's live action.
yeah, it's like what?
So uh yeah, so that's what I mean. I think like being able to, if you don't have the budget to make it something to where it's not noticeable, that's like an A level, right, or elite level, then um going the Lord of the Rings way to where you're using more practical effects,
Mhm.
more makeup and costumes, I think just serves so much better.
Let me say
So yeah,
this.
that's my final thoughts.
Yeah, a great example of a lower budget movie by today's standards that did CGI very well, but also used a lot of practical sets and I think some creatures and just like there's like a robot in the movie is Love and Monsters.
Yep.
I think they blend those things really well. They don't overdo the CG. The dog's not CG. I think the robot really isn't. They might, and again, they might do little things here and there to help, but they save the CG for most of the monsters. It blends in really well. I think it. I don't know if it won. The Academy Awards were last night, and no one watched it. Surprise. But
No.
it did get nominated for CG or for like whatever the art direction or whatever the case may be for that category. But it did get nominated based on the CG work that they did, and it honestly it deserved to win if it didn't because it was very well done. My camera's all over the place today. But you're right. That's a 6 out of 10. It's on again. This is another. It's on HBO Max, so if you have that, it's not a terrible popcorn watch. Obviously, it's not great if it's not like a suitable for all ages movie, but if you and some of your friends want to get together and just it's not that bad. So
Great date night movie.
You know what else was not great about it though? Was the audio quality of it. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Like the music in the background and some of it, the mixing felt weird.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I did notice that. We noticed that. We kept having to also turn it down and turn it up.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some mixing issues with it because it was like there was music playing and I was like, it's too low to get you in the mood for what's happening in the scene, and then you're like, Anyway, and then of course they save the theme for like the credits, and so it just all right.